Hi there everybody. I am going to show you how to do a set of 4 coasters that in the end hopefully will look like marble, and I'm going to do a puddle pour on those. I've already taped off the backs of my coasters. These are just the 4 1/4 inch ceramic tiles that you can buy at Home Depot or at Lowe's or Menards. Sometimes when Menards has them on sale, they're only 11 cents each. And if you want, you could buy a whole box, which I probably should have for as many coasters as I have poured in the past 2 months, but instead I just keep buying them 10 at a time and buy a couple bundles. I'm just using a little alcohol wipe. It works really nicely just to clean off any residue or oils that may be on the coasters. And I like to do the sides as well. And you can see that on the back side I've taped them. I try to make sure that I always go out to the edges of it with the tape, because when after they are poured, then I will put the heat resistant resin on them. And I like to use the Stone Coat Countertop Resin, and I found that the art resin has the same heat safety on it as the countertop resin, so I just buy the art resin now so that I can use it on whatever I want to. But I'm just going ahead and wiping these all down with the alcohol wipe. And go ahead and place these. I've got little solo cups that I use just to kind of keep them up off of the surface that I'm painting on. I kind of find that those work pretty well for me, and they're not fancy, and I always have them on hand. So today my paints are Artist Loft White, and all of my paints are mixed with my pouring medium. My pouring medium is 4 cups of Floetrol, and I do strain that through a wire mesh strainer. And I use a cup of glue all, a 1/2 cup of Liquitex pouring medium, and then a 1/4 cup of water. And I keep that pre-mixed all the time. And then I like to mix my paints in these condiment bottles, which I find are really handy. I pre-mix my paints so that when I get ready to pour, it's all ready to go for me, and I find that it's so much faster. I bought these at Walmart. They were, I think, $1 a piece. And I have tons and tons of them, and I just find it so much easier to have everything all mixed, and I can paint so much quicker, especially if I want to do like a little set of coasters or something. It doesn't take me any time at all with my paint already being mixed. This is my custom silver. My custom silver is a mix of the Liquitex Basic Silver, and then I also mix in the Rustoleum Glitter Paint. I love this glitter paint. I use the sterling silver in with it, along with my pouring medium. And I use the glitter paint in a lot of different things. I find that it's really fun to put it in coasters. It adds such a really cool sparkle. And a nice little shine, especially after they're resined. It really makes them pop. So I really enjoy using the glitter paint. It comes in gold, silver, and iridescent. So I'm using my custom silver, Artist Loft White, and then I'm also using Payne's Gray. And I've added enough water so that it's kind of it's a very runny consistency, much runnier than what you would use if you were painting a canvas, but it works really nicely to do the puddle pour. So I just kind of start with little blobs of paint on each tile, and then I just keep adding my colors on top. So I'm just going to kind of randomly do a couple of white blobs on each one, and then I'll start with possibly the Payne's Gray for my next set of puddles. And I just add this kind of randomly, and I like to pour a little bit more paint than what I think I might need, because I would much rather have plenty of paint on there than fighting to try to get the surfaces covered. So I'm just going to go ahead and add just one of the Payne's Gray. I love using Payne's Gray because it adds some really cool effects in the paint. You'll get some really neat striations. Obviously your pouring medium has something to do with that as well, but I'm just going to move this one. I don't think it's quite level. I find that if I don't have my tile directly in the middle of these cups, sometimes it can kind of throw things off a bit. So sometimes I just have to adjust a little bit. So I'm just kind of making bullseye in each set of my puddles, and then I'll go in and add in my silver. And you can see that the paint's already starting to drip off, and that's okay. We're not going to worry about that, because art is supposed to be fun. And if it's not fun, then you shouldn't be doing it. I love paint pouring. I started doing this about, actually it was probably about 10 months ago. And I saw a video on Facebook, and I thought, wow, I really want to try that, and started watching YouTube videos and just kind of taught myself how to do it, and it's like super addictive. I have tried all kinds of different things, and obviously I love to do canvases, and but I really enjoy doing the little mini pieces of art on the tiles. And I've done the 4 1/4. I've also done the 6-inch size as a trivet too. Let's see, I just did two craft shows actually in the month of December, and found that the trivets were really a hot gift item for Christmas. Sold tons and tons of trivets, so I think it's a really fun way to experience, and possibly even a great place to start really if you're pouring and new to pouring, because I think a smaller surface to me seems to be just a little bit easier to manage. So I highly recommend that you try a set of coasters. They're a lot of fun. Okay, so my Payne's gray, I do know from experience that sometimes it can kind of take over a little bit, so I don't want to put it in all of my dots, but I do want to make sure that I have plenty of sparkle. So I'm going to go back and kind of add just a little bit more of the glitter paint. And then you can see that my coasters obviously were not completely level. So they've kind of done some crazy like tilting, it looks like. So I'm just going to go back with my white, and I'm just going to fill in the edges, because then I don't have to worry and stress so much that it's all going to be covered. This way everything should look really pretty once we tilt it. And you can see that I've got a few little chunkies in my paint. So we're just going to pick that out real quick with a toothpick, just so that it doesn't cause issues later. Not sure where those big chunks came from. Okay, so how I've seen this in the past is you can run your finger through it and you can get some really cool effects starting, but you can see that there's already some reactions going on with the paint. I've got another little chunk here I'm going to get rid of. So I'm not going to do that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and tilt them and see what happens, and see what kind of reactions we get. And if we don't like it, then we can just pour over it, right? So we're going to start with this guy here. And I find that if you tilt at a quick and sharp angle, the puddle pours kind of turn out a little bit better that way. That one looks pretty doggone cool. So I love how I've got some nice veins going through it. And then I just check my corners to make sure that I'm good there. So I'll just pick up off of my plastic garbage bag that I'm using for my surface protection on my countertops, and just make sure that everything is all coated so that it looks all nice on all the edges. And like I said, this will get coated with resin once they're all finished. So with this one, because I kind of tilted this way, I'm going to go off this way first and try and get that corner to have a little bit more interest to it. And then I'll just severely tilt towards all of the corners until I've got everything coated. And I will tell you that the silver has kind of a clear cast to it once it dries, which is one of the reasons why I add the Liquitex silver to the glitter paint. Otherwise, sometimes I kind of get blank spaces, which is not super attractive on a pour. And I'm hoping that we'll get some more reaction from this as it sits too. So there's 2 of these guys. And then I think go to this one next. And once again, I'm going to tilt this way to kind of get rid of some of that white. And then I want to keep a little bit of my blue on here, so I'm going to try not to tilt that all the way off. And then pull it back in and kind of tilt it till I think it looks really cool. I just find this interesting that you use the same colors of paints, and I really hope my head wasn't in that shot. That you can use the same colors of paints and still get totally different reactions on 4 different surfaces. So I think it's really cool. I just think this is an amazing art form, and I just love everything that it does. So once again, gonna tilt and try to get rid of that white and try to stay out of my other coasters, obviously. And then kind of go off on this corner a little bit and then just pull it back and even everything else so that it's all nice and pretty. All right, make sure my corners are all good to go. I guess sometimes the corners are a little tricky on coasters. And this one Just going to tilt that off a little bit since I touched it with my finger to make sure that it still looks nice. And then sometimes with the puddle pours, you'll find that you'll get little air bubbles. So sometimes I'll just go ahead and use my torch real quick and pop those bubbles. And then that also sometimes can give you a little bit more reaction. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my gloves off and grab my torch real quick and pop those air bubbles real quick. I have the Mac Daddy of torches. I found that the creme brulee torch just did not do it for me, so I bought this really big one off of Amazon, and it comes with canisters, and you can see that we got some really cool effects by torching it too and popping those air bubbles underneath. So all right, well, that takes care of the painting part of it. I'll probably let these sit for, generally I let them go for a week to 10 days. With the paint being thinner like it is, it should cure pretty quickly because I don't have a heavy, thick layer of paint sitting on top of the tile. You can see there's some other stuff that's coming up and popping up through the tiles, which is really cool. But I'll probably let these sit for a week to 10 days, and then I'll probably do another video and show you guys how I finish those with resin and how they look when they're totally completed. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll continue to watch my videos. Thank you.